All right, let's just get right into it. I want you to picture a battle so lopsided it sounds like something out of a legend. A scenario where the odds aren't just stacked against our heroes, they're a literal mountain. And that's exactly what we're breaking down today. An encounter that, by all rights, should have been over in seconds, but instead became one of the most incredible stories in gaming. So on one side of the battlefield, we've got the Hunters. And look, this isn't just some random mob. We're talking about a coordinated army, 1,000 players, all of them with a single goal: hunt down their targets and take home a huge cash prize.
And on the other side,
Just 3 people. But here's the thing, these aren't just any 3 players. Oh no. They are, without a doubt, considered some of the absolute deadliest to ever play the game.
so that's the big question, right? How in the world does this happen? How does a 1,000-strong army, all geared up and organized, actually lose to 3 guys? Well, that's exactly what we're going to find out.
The setup was pretty simple, but totally brutal. There was a $50,000 prize waiting for the trio if they could somehow survive, but there was also a $10,000 bounty on each of their heads. You do the math, that's a ton of incentive for the hunters to go all out.
So who exactly are these 3 legends? First up, you've got Clown Pierce, the seasoned vet, the leader of the pack. Then there's Purpled, a master strategist who's proven himself over and over again. And finally, Flamefrax, a player with a reputation so fearsome they just call him the Immortal Demon. Yeah, this wasn't just some random team. It was basically a dream team of destruction.
But you can't sleep on the hunters. Seriously, don't make the mistake of thinking this was just 1,000 players running around randomly. They had a really smart, multi-stage plan designed to completely shut down the trio's skill advantage.
Their playbook was crystal clear. Step 1, spread out and get underground immediately. Avoid getting picked off early. Step 2, use their massive numbers to mine like crazy and get stacked with enchanted diamond gear. Step 3, set up nasty, complex traps to try and catch the trio off guard. And the final step? Group up. Form one massive, unstoppable force for the final showdown.
And if you want to know just how serious they were, get this. They had a secret weapon. Judd Lowe, who's known as the best trapper in the entire game, was playing on a secret account. Why? Because he knew if the trio saw his real name, they'd hunt him down instantly. He was there for one reason: build a trap so perfect it could take one of them out in a single blow. This was high-level strategy.
Now, in the beginning, the trio's insane skill let them kind of run circles around the hunters, picking them off here and there. But as time went on, the hunters got their gear, they got organized, and you could feel the tide starting to turn. Their big plan was starting to work.
And then came the biggest turning point of the entire match. The trio's elytras, the items that let them fly, were taken away. All of a sudden, their number one advantage, which was their mobility and their ability to escape, was just gone. The fight was now on the ground. A fair fight? Well, if you can call 3 versus hundreds a fair fight.
This basically forced a head-on collision of 2 totally different strategies. For the trio, it was all about divide and conquer. They had to isolate small groups, pick off anyone who strayed from the pack. But the hunters? They formed what they called the Death Ball, a giant swarming mass of players designed to just overwhelm anything in its path with pure numbers. And you can literally hear the stress in Clown Pierce's voice right here. He knew taking on that Death Ball head-on was suicide. Their only chance, their only hope for survival, was to stick to the edges and try to chip away at the army without getting swallowed whole.
And that's what led to the final, desperate stand. The map was shrinking, forcing the trio into closer and closer fights with that terrifying Death Ball. Their supplies were running low, the pressure was just immense, and, well, the inevitable started to happen.
The first to go down was the leader, Clown Pierce. He'd already burned through both of his life-saving totems and got caught by the mob. No escape, no more second chances. He was just overwhelmed. The army drew first blood. It was now 2 versus hundreds. Facing these just impossible odds, Purpled and Flamefrags had to adapt on the fly, and they came up with a brilliant, if not desperate, new plan: kite and clean. The idea was that Purpled, who had no totems left, would be the bait. He would lead the entire Death Ball on a wild goose chase, which would hopefully create some space for Flamefrags to swoop in and take out the hunters who couldn't keep up.
It was a genius strategy, but it came with a huge cost. Kiting an entire army just shreds through your resources: food, pearls, everything. And eventually Purpled ran out. He got caught. The hunters claimed another $10,000 bounty. And then there was one.
So this is it, the final act. Flamefrag's the immortal demon is now completely and utterly alone against what's left of this massive army. I mean, everything, all logic points to this being over in a matter of seconds.
And you know what? Even Flamefrags himself thought it was over. He had no way to fight from a distance, barely any way to heal, and an army staring him down. He was totally out of options. This was rock bottom. It really seemed like all hope was gone.
But then, a little moment of just pure dumb luck. Hiding out in some forgotten corner of the map, he finds an anvil. Now, that might not sound like a big deal, but trust me, it was everything. It meant he could repair his almost broken bow. And with the bow back in his hands, he had a chance. A real fighting chance to do damage without being instantly swarmed.
Which brings us to this word, clutch. You hear it all the time in gaming. It's that moment when a player, under unbelievable pressure and against all odds, just pulls off something spectacular to win the whole thing. And what Flamefrags did next? Well, it's pretty much the dictionary definition of the word.
Armed with that repaired bow and just pure, unshakable will, he starts to pick apart what's left of the army. He takes them down one by one. The numbers start dropping, 1 versus 11, then 1 versus 8, down to 5. He's using every trick in the book, every ounce of skill, until it's just him and one last hunter.
And with that final satisfying kill, the impossible actually happened. Just as you hear the event's host Carl say, against all odds, he did it. Flamefrags had single-handedly fought off an army and won the $50,000 prize for his team. Just unbelievable.
So it really leaves you with this one big question, doesn't it? We saw this epic clash of numbers versus skill, of brute force versus pure strategy. But when all the dust settled, what turned out to be the bigger weapon? A massive army of 1,000 people, or the absolutely unshakable will of one person who just refuses to lose?